Okay, so we're talking about domain and range today. All right. But first, we're going to talk about these two vocabulary words that are keywords that you guys need to know. First is discrete, and then it's continuous. All right. You either have a discrete graph or you have a continuous graph, one or the other. A discrete graph is a graph where, you guys should be writing with me. Don't wait till I'm done. A graph where the points are not, and that's important that they're not, so I underlined it and capitalized it. A graph where the points are not connected. Okay? A graph where the points are not connected. Then you have continuous. A discrete is where they're not connected. What do you think continuous is?
They are connected.
They are connected. So a graph where the points are connected. Okay, so what I want to do is I want to go through each graph and I only want to focus on discrete and continuous. Okay, that's all we're going to do first. So look at number 1. Are these points discrete or continuous?
Continuous.
They're connected. It's a line. If it's a line on a graph, it is continuous. So circle the word continuous.
Well, that's not all. Like if the line off to the side of the dots. Like it wasn't a dot to another dot. Like it was away from the dots.
Then that would be a separate line. So that would be continuous. If there's a line on the graph, it's continuous. Okay. Okay. Number 2. Continuous or discrete? Continuous. It's a line on the graph. Number 3. Continuous or discrete? Discrete. It's separate dots. They're not connected. They're all its own dot. Number 4. Continuous. 5. Discrete. Their own dots. They're not connected. And 6. Continuous. Has its own line. Okay. Now, what does it say that we're doing on these problems?
Finding domain and range.
Yes, we're finding the domain and range. And you guys remember that silly little saying that I made you remember?
Oh, yeah.
So, what's my silly little saying?
Dr.
X, Y left his ID in his office. Perfect. Why would I write that on there?
So you can remember.
Domain.
So I can remember what?
Domain range X Y.
Yes, so I can know. I write it on here so I can know that domain is my x's. So I can write that. And I write it on here so I know that range is my y's. Okay, I write it to help me remember domain is x and range is y. That's why I write it. Okay? Now, we have a graph here. So anytime we have a graph, we need to label our x and y axis. So go do that. All right, now, I want to know my domain and range. All right, so that's my x's and my y's. I want to know all the x's that are on this line. And I want to know all the y's that are on this line. In order to do that, okay, I want to know my smallest x and my largest x. Then I want to know my smallest y and my largest y. Okay, so what we're going to do is we are going to find the endpoints. Okay, find your endpoint. So here's an endpoint. And I need to know what is this ordered pair. Okay, so we're going to start in the middle, and I'm going to go find the ordered pair, which is negative 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So negative 8 for x. Oops, that's a really bad 8. That didn't even look like an 8.
Oh, it's in a 2.
Sorry, okay, let me rewrite this. Negative 8. There. Okay? Then the y is positive 1. That's that dot over there. Now I need to know this dot, which is the x is positive 2 You'll see that? Positive 2. And then it goes down 1, 2, 3, 4. Negative 4 for the y.
Do it.
2, negative 4. Huh?
Since we don't have a pen, do it, just write it off.
Yeah, you can write it off. However you can read it. Okay, now I need to know x, y, x, y, like an ordered pair. I need to know what my x's are and what my y's are. Label them. Okay? All right, now this part is where it gets tricky. Okay, this is where it gets tricky. We're only going to focus on domain right now. Domain, you're going to write the exact same way every single time. You're going to start it as x, so everybody put x in the middle of the line, and then you're going to put less than and less than on each side. So we're going to talk about these symbols today, and I'm going to explain in just a second. Okay, now, what we're going to do is we're going to talk about our x's only, all right? My x-axis goes this way. Does everybody agree with that? Okay, so I need to go to my smallest x and then my largest x. So my smallest x side is over here. So I'm going to start my pencil this way, and I'm going to go like on, what goes left to right? Let's see here. What moves from left to right? Like you're reading a book. Okay, so my pen is going to read the book. The very first thing that it hits on the graph is this dot. Okay, remember we're only talking about the x's. All right, what is this very first x on the dot? Negative 8. Because negative 8 comes first, I'm going to write it in front. All right, then I'm going to keep on reading my book. Okay, read my book, read my book, read my book, boom. The last thing I read on this graph is this last dot. And what's the x for the last dot? 2. So that's what I'm going to write last. Okay, freeze right there. Now we got to go talk about these symbols. All right, I want you to write these symbols on the back. Okay, I've got less than or greater than, and then less than or equal to or greater than or equal to. Okay, there's a difference between these dots. If it does not have lines under it, it's going to be open dot, which looks like this.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, if it has solid lines underneath, it's going to have solid lines, a solid dot. So it's a closed dot, which is closed, like this. Okay? Everybody understand?
Yes.
All right. Flip it back over. All right, now let's look at my x's. So I got to decide, do these symbols need lines or not underneath it?
No.
So start with your negative 8. Does that have a closed dot?
Yes.
Yes, so it needs a line under it. Then go to the positive 2. Is that closed? Yes, so it needs a line under it. And that's my answer for my domain. Yes?
Can some domains have one closed dot and one open dot?
Yes.
Oh.
Okay, we're about to do one like that. Okay? Okay, now let's do our y's. So just like domain started with x less than, that's how we started it. We wrote x and we wrote our two symbols. Our y's are the exact same. Y less than, less than. So y less than, less than. Now, x goes side to side like you're reading a book. Y goes up and down like an elevator. Okay, so when you get on an elevator, you start at the bottom, right? You just walked into a building, walked in, you're on the bottom floor, and you're about to get on an elevator. The very first floor that you hit is this dot right here. What is my y for this dot?
-4.
-4, so I write that first. Is it an open or a closed dot?
Closed.
Closed, so it's got to have a line. Okay, that's the first floor I hit. Then the last floor my elevator hits is this dot up here. What's the y?
1.
1. Remember, we're talking about y's right now. Is that an open or a closed dot? Closed, so draw your line. And there's my y's. Any questions? Are we good?
Yes.
Are we sure?
Yes.
Okay, those are my answers. Okay? Look at number 2. Look at number 2. What's the difference on number 2?
There's a
Open.
It's open circle, and what else?
Closed.
Huh?
Oh wait, there's no closed. Oh.
There's no closed. How many dots do I have?
One.
I've got 1 dot. What's the other side? I've got 1 dot. What's the other side?
an arrow.
An arrow. I've got an arrow now. Okay? All right, let's start this the exact same way we did the other one. First, label your X and Y axis. Now, what are we talking about?
Excellent.
We're talking about
Domain.
domain and range. So I need to have Dr. XY left his ID in his office so that I know that domain is my X and range is talking about my Y's. Then the next thing I did was what? Do you remember?
Label the dot.
Good. I found that coordinate. I labeled the dot. So let's go find the coordinates for this dot right here. Start in the middle. We're going to go forward 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 on the X, so positive 5. And then down 2, so negative 2. And I'm going to label the XY on the coordinate just so we can know and remember. All right. I'm ready to write my domain. So I start with X less than, less than. So everything up until this point has been the exact same, right? Everything's been the exact same. Now this is where it's different. Because I only have 1 coordinate, how many numbers can I write for the X? I only have 1. I have to decide, where does it go? Does it go in the front or does it go in the back? Okay, I got to know which side it does. So we're going to do the exact same thing. I'm going to read my book left to right. Like the x-axis goes left to right, okay? So if I start here, the very first thing that I hit is the arrow. Does an arrow have a number?
No.
No. So can I write a number in the front?
No.
No. Okay? Then I keep reading, and the last thing I hit is the dot. Okay? Now, what is the X for the dot?
5.
5. So I'm going to write that in the back because that's the last thing that I hit. Is that an open or a closed dot?
Open.
Open. Do I need a line under?
No.
No. All right. Did I use anything over here?
No.
No. So I'm going to cross out this and make this my answer. I didn't need that other symbol on this one. Okay.
You don't need the one that's open?
Huh?
The one that was open?
I don't have a number up here, so I don't need this symbol because I don't have a number up here because it was an arrow. Okay. Okay, now let's do range. So start with Y less than, less than. Starts the same way every time. Now, Y's go up and down, so I'm going to get on my elevator. I'm going to get on the first floor. And the first thing I hit...
Teachers and students, please pardon this interruption, but as many of you already know, the internet is down. Teachers, please make a list of the students that are absent in your class just as soon as the internet comes back.
All right. Now, so I'm doing the ranges. Start at the elevator, get on the first floor. The first floor that I hit is what? I'm talking Y's. Is the dot, right?
Mm-hmm.
What's that? Y. Negative 2. Now I hit that dot first, so my negative 2's got to go in the front. Is it open or closed?
Open.
Open. So I don't need a line under it. Now the last thing I hit is
Arrow.
arrow. Does an arrow have a number? No. Do I need this symbol back here?
No.
Now, I cannot leave this as my answer. The Y has to be written first. So I need to rewrite this with the Y first. Now, so the first thing I'm going to write is Y, because that has to go first. I'm rewriting my answer. Look at the alligator mouth. The alligator mouth is open to the Y, right? So when I rewrite it, it's got to be open to the Y. And then negative 2. And box it.
What is the one?
They're difficult. It just happened to be. Sometimes the X is like that. It just depends on where the dot is. Okay, look at number 3. What's different about number 3?
There's multiple.
It's scattered. There's random dots everywhere. Is it a line?
No.
So what do you think I'm going to have to do?
Draw a line.
No.
Label them all.
Okay, we're going to label all of our dots. Okay, there's not a line here, right? So we only do the pencil thing. We only read the book and do the elevator when there's a line. I don't have a line here, so I need to label all my dots. All right, start with that. So this dot is 3, -1. Then this one is 5, 0. Then I've got 2, 1. Then 4, 2. Then 1, 3. Then 6, 6. Okay, now, when we do this part right here, X less than, Y less than, that only works when you have a line. Like I said, you can't read the book and do the elevator unless you have a line, and that only works with these things. Now that I've got a discrete graph and random dots, I'm just going to list each X, and then I'm going to list each Y. Okay, and when you list numbers, you have to have one of those squiggly bracket lines. Okay, so draw your squiggly bracket line. Okay, got it? And I'm just going to list my X's. All right, so my first X is 1. Then I've got 2. Then I've got 3, 4, 5, and I got 6 with the squiggly line. It's supposed to be least to greatest, but if you don't do that, that's okay. I'm not gonna freak out, okay? Alright, and if I list my Y's or my X's, what do you think I'm gonna do with my Y's? List them. Alright, so I'm gonna start with the smallest because it's supposed to be least to greatest, but we'll go ahead and do that. So -1, 0, 1, 2, 3, 6. Ouch. Okay, do we see the difference? When you have dots, you list them. When you've got a line, you do X less than, Y less than. Got it?
Yep.
Okay, number 4. Look at number 4. Okay, so those are the 3 different ways that we're going to talk about domain and range on a graph. The next 3 that we do are going to be repeats of what these are, just different numbers. Okay? So number 4, what type do I have here? I've got what? I've got a line. I've got a dot. And I've got an arrow. Okay, so let's start the same way that we've been doing. Talking domain and range, so I need to have Dr. XY left his ID in his office, and I should have done that on the last one. And now this helps me know that domain is X and range is Y. Then what?
The X and the greater.
Before that,
Label X and Y.
on the axis you mean?
Yeah.
Okay, label my axis, good. Now what?
Plot.
Good, I figure out the coordinate. I gotta know what that dot is before I can find my domain and range. Okay, I gotta know the number before I can write the number down, right? So I gotta find this dot. So start in your middle and go -1, 2, 3 on the X. And then +2. And I'm going to label those x, y. So I don't get confused when I start doing domain and range. All right, domain. What do we write first? X less than, less than. It's the same way every time. Okay? All right, now we're talking x, which goes side to side. The x-axis goes side to side, so I'm going to read my book, left to right. Start here. We're reading our book. The first thing we read is this dot. What's the x of this dot? -3, because I hit that first, it goes first. Is that dot open or closed?
Closed.
Closed, so does it need a line?
No. Oh, yeah.
Yes. Okay, so that's the first thing I hit. Okay. The last thing I hit is
Here.
an arrow. Can I write a number for an arrow?
No.
No. So cross that out. Can this be my answer?
Yeah.
No. What has to happen?
The X has to go first.
The x got to go first. So I got to write x, rewriting my answer. The alligator mouth is open to the x, so when I rewrite it, it's got to be open to the x with a line under it. -3.
So basically, whenever there's an arrow, one of them has to be flipped.
Yes. You're only going to have one number if there's an arrow. Okay? What? What did I say that confused you? What part? If you have an arrow, you're only going to have one number on each side.
Yeah, well, we did that for the X, right?
Yes.
But I don't know.
Okay, let's do the Y. Let's see if it'll make sense. Okay? Alright, your Y. Y less than, less than. Let's finish it, and if it doesn't click, then ask me, okay? Okay, Y less than. Now Y goes up and down. So we got to get on a elevator. So get on the first floor. And what do you hit first? Arrow. So can I write a number first?
No.
No. What's the last thing that we hit on our elevator?
Not.
The dot, which is
Two. No.
Oh, 2.
+2. Okay? And is that an open or a closed dot?
Close.
Closed. So I got to have a line under it. And I didn't have a number in front, so I'm going to cross that out. And there's my answer.
I get it.
Good. Yes, he does. All right, number 5. What's number 5?
Discrete.
Discrete, and it's random dots, right?
Yeah.
So we need to go find the coordinates of all the dots. All right, here we go. Starting here on this one. So this is -3, -7. Sorry, can't read it. -1, -3. Then I've got, that looks like a dot right there, which is,
1, 1.
well, I think there's one right here. Is that a dot right there?
Yeah.
It looks like one on my paper.
Where?
So 0, -1.
Yeah.
Then I've got 1, 1. Then I've got 3, other 2. Okay. Did I get them? I got them? I think so. So how do I write domain and range of dots? List them. Okay? So what do we have to have on each one? Brackets. Yes. You have to. If you didn't have to, I wouldn't tell you. Okay? I wouldn't just say something to confuse you. Alright, so squiggly lines, and I'm going to tell you all the x's. So start with this one. Hold on just a second. Okay, start with this one, which is -3. Then -1, 0, 1, 3. Squiggly line. Then I go to the y's. Squiggly line, -7, -3, -1, 1, 5. Squiggly line. Questions? Are we good? Questions? Okay, what's number 6? What type?
Continuous.
Continuous, you're right. And what information does it give me?
Closed and open.
Closed and open. So I've got what? 2 dots, right? Okay, so let's start with the first thing. Oh, I forgot to do domain and range again on that one. Okay, Dr. XY left his ID in his office. So I know domain is X, range is Y. Now what? Plot.
Or labels.
Label the axis, good. Okay, so X and Y. And then let's go find our coordinates. I'm going to start with this one, the open dot. This is negative 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Negative 2. Is everybody good on finding the coordinates? Okay. All right, then I'm going to go find the other one. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So 4, I'll write it over here. 4, 6. All right, then I'm going to label them X and Y so I don't get confused when I start writing my domain and range. All right, how do I start the domain? What do I write first?
X.
X,
Less than, less than.
less than, less than. All right, X goes side to side, so we're going to read our book, okay? The very first thing I read is this dot, and what's this X? Negative 6, and you're right, it's open. So do I need a line under it? No. The last thing I read, remember we're talking about X's, is this dot, and it is 4. Does it need a line under it?
Yes.
Yes, because it's closed. There we go. Then we got our range. What's the first thing I write for range?
Y.
Y,
Less than, less than.
less than, less than. All right, Y goes up and down, so I'm going to get my elevator. The first floor I hit for Y is negative 2. Does it need a line under it?
No.
No, it's open. The last floor I stop at is 6. Does it need a line?
Yes.
Yes, it's closed. And there's my answer. Any questions?
Is it lunchtime?
No, it's not lunchtime yet. Okay, let me stop this.
Oh.